Stand by.
We're on the desk, and it's digital.
Yes.
I don't have any of those analog desks.
Welcome to Valley News Now. I'm Adam Shelf, and today I'm joined by Gabriel Osler. And Gabe, you were just down at the police department for the press conference regarding a story we've been just hot on the heels all week here at Valley News Live. And we still don't have all the information, but we got a lot more information this morning.
Yeah, it is a very active investigation. This is that shooting that took place in the Arbors that resulted in the death of I'm gonna get those names confused right off the top of my head. Yes, Zion Brooks, and then Javante Logan is the perpetrator, supposedly. It's still something they're investigating. But it was kind of an interesting atmosphere. Definitely a lot of news outlets there with us, lots of print, lots of broadcast. And we're all kind of wondering, why this case? It's not that murders don't deserve attention, and it's not that it's not a tragic situation, but there are murders that occur in Fargo, and you wonder why this one gets the particular attention of them saying, hey, come on down, we've got some information to discuss. And what it largely ended up being was a lot of discussion about the crime that has been going on in the Arbors.
Right. And
that area, which is a little bit known for perhaps having more activity going on. There's the modular home park very nearby. There's just seems to be more activity. So on top of speaking about what happened to Mr. Brooks and the steps that they took to apprehend Mr. Logan, there is also a lot about the efforts that have been undertaken to curb the violence in the Arbors. And they spoke about some informants that they have developed in that area, the community involvement that they say has made them to police more effectively, and the ongoing efforts to, kind of get that under control.
And, just going off what you're saying there, Ethan Kramer and I go down there the other day to conduct some interviews. This was Tuesday, and so after the incident, and just it kind of an eerie feeling, the day after an event like that goes down, and talking to some residents and former residents, just talking about how dangerous it was there, how unsafe those former residents felt at times. And so it kind of leads me into the question of what did they say they were doing to address the crime in that area?
Well, very similar to the report that has been released by the police department that violent crime is on the decline. They say that they have numbers. That's something that we're working at Valley News Live to obtain. I asked specifically in that press conference that was live streamed, how up to date are these numbers that you're speaking of? And they say through June, we have the evidence that shows it is going down. So we're working to obtain those specific hard facts that they are providing. But you mentioned, residents have spoken out and said that this is, not the safest place to be around. And there's definitely the perception that that is the case. So I think that the police department was using this platform to really combat that narrative. Of course, everybody has their own opinion, their own perspective. But as far as the steps that they're taking, there was a lot that they spoke of regarding the community involvement and people coming forward and providing them with information that is allowing them to apprehend these people quicker and not let these deeds go unpunished.
And that was one of the takeaways for me. One of the things I thought was just really interesting to hear, that social media, and people reaching out to give the police tips was actually pretty helpful in this investigation.
And just social media involvement top to bottom. I know you wanted to mention the actual apprehension of Mr. Logan and the way that went down on the bridge and everything. That was a very public traffic stop, and we got numerous pictures and video that circulated on social media, and then were also sent in to the newsroom that we could view. So it is something that the social media community has just been involved in, top to bottom, when it comes to the investigation, when it comes to the apprehension. The community has their eyes on this thing, and they are putting the material that they record and they generate out there for other people to consume.
And then when we're talking about the police addressing the violence in that area and just trying to keep violence down here in Fargo, definitely it sounds like some really interesting technology is being used for situations like that.
So this is definitely something that Chief Zibolski will love to hear me talk about. So Chief, if you're listening, hey, Nice to see you this morning. But there's a specific ballistics database that has been in use for the past few years, but it's getting ramped up within Fargo itself because this is, I'm not going to get too deep into the technological weeds, but basically it is able to track guns and track gun data in a way that has never been seen before. And prior, the actual technology, the software for this was located in DC and, the major crime or investigative areas. And so it was still available, but you would have to take your data and then send it off, wait a couple days, get the turnaround, and then you get the information back. Well, now within Fargo, that software is here. It is up and running. So that's something that they really wanted to hit during this press conference and let everybody know in general, is that they have advanced ballistics technology, which is being used to track guns, specifically guns that are used in the commission of violent felonies and drug trafficking. And that's definitely something that could have come into play here, and it's going to continue to come into play because they said that they seized 4 guns in the general investigation of this. So not just the murder weapon, which they're not allowed to say if the murder weapon was involved in that 4-gun seizure, but all of these will be sent to this lab. They're going to test them. They're going to make sure that these guns have not been used in the commission of other crimes. And if they have, then they have more investigative data to follow up on that.
That's a very good point there, Gabe. Now, I think it's important to say that obviously, the people watching at home, they want information. They want as much information as they can provide. And I think one of the hardest parts for the police force when dealing with things like this is, you can't put all the information out there because it can interfere with the investigation. And the most important thing is the investigation itself. So we aren't getting all the information quite yet. One of the first questions was about, what do we know about the relationship between Brooks and Logan, for example, which couldn't be addressed by the police? And so what information do we have now that we didn't have before, and what do we still not know?
And look, I'm totally sympathetic to that. I understand how things move in the information age. I'm also a big true crime person myself. You look at something, you make your own inferences, and you're like, well, it should be this, it should be that, like bang, bang, like, let's get this informational ball rolling. But you have to remember, this shooting just took place days ago.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that they had this quick of a turnaround to get him apprehended that quickly in itself is impressive.
Already. And so this is going to take a while before it goes to trial. There's so many moving parts that, you do have to respect the sanctity of the investigation. A lot of what they released was related to Mr. Brooks specifically. Chief Zibolski said off the top of this news conference that he was trying to do a lot of good in the community, which is, of course, something that sparked, inquiries. What do you mean by that? Well, it was said that he was a Georgia native, and he moved up here to try and make something of a fresh start for himself. Didn't have family in the area, but was apparently undertaking efforts to be, civically engaged and maybe help people out, not go down a path that he had been down prior, potentially. And they were very adamant in saying that he was not involved in any criminal activity at all. He was just a resident of the Arbors and then ended up being a victim in this very tragic circumstance. So that does paint a picture of a victim who, kind of got caught in this unfortunate crossfire where they didn't have anything to do with any sort of illegal activity, but because of people around them potentially being involved in some bad actions, then their life was cut short. So there was a lot of that where we paint a picture of Mr. Brooks. And then just the actual apprehension, which I know I brought up before, but what they did in order to, get Mr. Logan cornered in that traffic stop, get him to surrender peacefully, and all of the information that they culled from the community and from social media that led to them tracking him down within about 24 hours.
And what was the public turnout like that? It sounds like the public was pretty involved in this investigation almost in a way. I shouldn't say in the police investigation, but the public was investigating on their own, kind of tracking this story. Was there a lot of turnout from the public there today?
So I will say physically from what I saw within the room at the police department, there were no members of just the general public. It was all people that I recognized from the media.
Sure.
However, as you saw in the press release and as people I'm sure saw, this was live streamed. This is something that the police department went out of their way to put out in public so that people could tune in and watch it. We don't have the viewership numbers for that, but to me, the fact that they took the steps to make it publicly available that way, where anybody could just click on their computer and tune in and see what they had to say, means that there was significant demand for people to know what was going on.
I got a question for you, and then if there's anything else you want to add before we wrap up here. But big picture, we're looking at the trends here, and we're looking at, the police are looking to keep violent crime down. They're saying that those numbers are going down. What is the big picture, would you say, is the police kind of looking to address things and where we are at now as a community?
Look, it's a somewhat wise man from my past really always brought up the concept of perception versus reality. And that's something that we really try and represent both sides of, I believe, within journalism and at Valley News Live. We have whistleblowers all the time saying, I don't feel safe here. Look at what's happening here. Oh, these incidents. And, it's understandable when you watch a news story that involves somebody being shot in the face. That doesn't make you feel good. That makes you think twice about going into those locations. However, the police department is not only combating crime, they're combating, a feeling. They're combating a sense within the community where they want to be viewed as doing what right and taking the proper steps to make everybody feel safe. So if there's this wave of sentiment that says that they're not doing that, then of course they're going to want to try to get out in front of it and push back in the other direction. So I think that's sort of what the big picture of what we're looking at right here. This is a murder. Why are we having a news conference for this murder? Well, of course, we want the information to be disseminated. There's a certain thing of, freedom of information. But there's also, hey, look at what we're doing here, and look at what we're doing to make it safer for you, the average Fargo resident. And both of those forces, the people wanting change and wanting answers and accountability and feeling unsafe, and the police department wanting to protect people and wanting their public image to be burnished somewhat, I think those are equally viable. And that's just sort of the push and pull that we have to navigate in society and in this newsroom.
And, it's interesting you say that, because the police showing that change, showing the adjustments they've already made, talking about how the Arbors have had a bit of a reputation, to say the least, as far as crime goes in that particular area. But, just kind of saying, hey, we do have new management. The trends are heading in the right direction with this. Here's the data. And very up-to-date data is, if they're saying that's through June. Mm-hmm. And so that's really all the information we have right now. And as I said before, this is just one of those things where it's going to trickle out. It always does with things like this. And the police have a lot of work still yet to be done within the parameters of that investigation. Gabe, before I let you go, anything else you want to add?
No, I think we covered it pretty in depth. Just want to appreciate the viewers, sticking with us for this coverage, because you and Ethan did such great work the other day, going out and getting that on-scene stuff and sort of those exclusive looks at some of the vehicles and everything that were involved in the police investigation, and just to stay with us, because like we said, this is just the beginning. I mean, we're going to find out so much more as the months progress and as this case potentially gets brought to trial about how these two people might have known each other and what would have led to an incident like this. So just keep it locked. We've got great reporters and we've got great sources that are going to give you more information.
Excellent. That's all we have for now on Valley News Now. Thank you for joining us, and have a good rest of your day.